All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Serious Angler podcast and another edition of Real Biology. We are no longer in San Antonio. No, we are back at the home fronts here, Steve. Although you're in your normal spot, I'm on the
I
couch here because my travel is not done yet. But Steve, have you been able to get home from the Black Bass Symposium and get somewhat settled yet?
We're still in recovery mode, right? You're still in that phone calls, emails, you're backed up. You gotta address all the things that just slip by during a meeting like that. For me, the Black Bass meeting wasn't just 8 hours of presentations, it's 16 hours of the entire day, and then the next one and the next one. And I can't step out to stop and run a business. So you kind of have to put business on hold for the week, which is very difficult whenever you're owner operator of two of them. So we're still catching up. But luckily for me, I don't have any travel scheduled for the next 3 weeks. So I've got a window built in to get that done. But it looks like you do have travel scheduled.
Yeah. We're right now. I'm on the couch for the folks that are listening to this episode because I'm literally looking at my luggage and everything from Black Bass Symposium right now in my living room. My wife does not really appreciate it very much, but it's basically throwing it in the laundry, running it through laundry, putting it back in the bag because I have to leave Wednesday morning, which got home from Black Bass Symposium, landed at almost midnight. Wife picked me up, and I left for the lake at like 6 in the morning. So I got a couple hours of sleep.
Mm.
Had to go get content done. Had a tournament the next day. Came home Sunday, slept half the day to catch up. And then now it's Monday. We're recording the show, and I leave Wednesday morning to fly out to Boise, Idaho to link up with Deacon on our team to then drive from Boise, Idaho on Thursday to the Columbia River in Oregon to then cover the BAM Tour Super 60 out there for the weekend. But when we fly back on Monday, a week from now, I won't have any travel for 2 months, which is nice. So
That's nice.
trying to get as much done today. Obviously, we're recording this podcast. Got a lot of content I have to get edited. Tomorrow morning, I got to run out and go set up all my trail cameras because bow season's creeping up here in 2 months or a month and a half, I should say. So it's all chaos right now, but it's a good kind of chaos in that we're having fun. We're just, as you know, schedules are a pain. There's not enough time in the day.
They are. Are you going to fish while you're in Idaho? Or are you literally
I
just picking Deacon up?
really hope so.
I
So
hope
he's
so
picking me
too.
up from the airport around dinner time on Wednesday. We might try to sneak out, but his boat is already all set up for Columbia River, so we probably don't want to mess with that. But there might be a chance that we sneak out after weigh-in on Sunday after the event for a couple hours. Otherwise, I fly out super early in the morning, Monday morning, and I'm not going to fish while I'm in town for that event because
Right.
obviously the anglers are out competing, and the last thing you want to do is
Yeah,
be
be that
making
guy.
casts. But if they have an off limits area, maybe I'll go fish in the off limits area. But either way, I got to catch at least one Columbia River smallmouth, while we're there. But um, don't have it. I don't have fishing planned out is what I'll keep it at. It's more content and podcast while we're out there. So
Gotcha. Well, and
yeah.
I had a guy call me from Idaho last year and basically said, like, hey, I think I know where to catch the new state record. And I'm gonna check my text and see if I know where that is so I can send you a little bit of a GPS point and say, here's where to go.
Oh Lord.
Go tackle them. Oh yeah.
I'll take a couple days.
That's what you needed was another obstacle.
Yeah, no, it's do got to get home though because I am excited as much as I love traveling. I am excited to have some chill day. Well, I shouldn't say chill, but stable days, I should say.
Yeah, I hear you.
Back at the house, but because it has been San Antonio was awesome with all the folks meeting all those people, but I came home to a 55-degree morning and it felt incredible.
Yeah, I bet you guys are starting to fall already. We've got 2 more months of summer, so
yeah, we're getting there.
Okay. Well, speaking of San Antonio, today's episode, you met this lady at San Antonio. Her, along with like 300 other, fish head bass biologists. But today's episode is going to be with Amber-Lee Jones. And Amber-Lee, is the biologist that has been working on Roosevelt, where 16-pound fish was caught just immediately before black bass, and kind of set the internet on fire a little bit with that fish catch during a tournament. I think there's a lot of cool things about that fish catch. Number one, it being in a tournament. It's pretty rare to see an actual giant fish caught in a tournament, but also that fish it's been 20 years. It's been 20 plus years since a comparable fish was caught in the state of Arizona. And as a general rule, fisheries don't just have 20-year gaps and then throw out another fish. Like, you have to have management decisions to create that opportunity again.
Yeah.
And I think Amber-Lee does a great job of showcasing what did they do. And she gets straight down to it. I mean, Amber-Lee, you can tell she's no nonsense. She just wants to tell you, like, this is what happened. And I think for our audience, you're going to love her. You're going to love this episode. And at the end of it, if you don't want to travel to Arizona, I don't know how we could convince you.
You're crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a really good show in regards to that. And I think amongst the people I've talked to already, because we already had Steve Jenkins, the fellow that caught the thing, 16-pounder, on the show. Deegan had him on for a Seriously Western segment. And if you're not putting Arizona on the map now, I'm sure after you listen to this episode, you will be.
And that's one of the things I like about, being part of the Serious Angler Network is you take a fish catch like that and you can cover it from Seriously Western. You guys can cover it whenever you're just doing a Serious Angler, and even whenever you're doing some of your, your fantasy fishing shows. You can talk about, like, this fish catch and how it happened at a tournament. And then on the real biology side, we can talk about the science of how it was, what led to this fish. Yeah. And there's really nowhere else that can cover a fish catch in this same way. And I think it really showcases why people should be part of the Serious Angler community, is because we're covering these topics from every direction.
Yep. Exactly. Precisely. You guys heard that here first.
That's right, baby.
There's a reason to the madness of having Serious Angler and our little, I guess, antennas off of the main show, if you will, is because science is important. The West Coast doesn't get enough love. And also, just from the main show, we still have the learning aspect of the fishing itself. Mm-hmm. There we have a little bit more shenanigans, of course. But.
Well, I mean, it honestly couldn't have happened at a better place, to a better angler, and have a better biologist involved in the situation. Like, this was the perfect example of what you're building this network to do.
100%. That's the goal, right? We're all just creating better anglers, creating better stewards of the sport, creating better, conservationists, so that's our whole goal here. And we have a great show to talk about all that right now.
Well, let's get to it. Let's hear how Amber-Lee creates better fisheries.
All right, folks. Welcome back to another edition of Serious Anglers Real Biology. Back again, not in San Antonio, Texas, Steve. We're actually back in the home front now, but with another great guest for today.
Yeah, we have Amber-Lee Jones with the Arizona Game and Fish, and this is our first, I'm going to call it Western guest. Like, whenever, for some reason, I don't know why this is, like, I always in my mind forget that anything past Texas actually exists. And Amber-Lee, sure? I know it's one of those mental logs. It's because how American Fisheries Society divides us up. Texas is in the Southern Division, and the Southern Division is all the Gulf Coast states. And so I miss a lot of my colleagues. I didn't even get to meet Amber-Lee until last year at Friends of Reservoirs, because I actually went to Arizona and spent time in Phoenix at our Friends of Reservoirs meeting and met Amber-Lee. So Amber-Lee, thank you so much for being on the show. We're sorry that we didn't have you sooner. It was completely my fault.
No, it's been fun. We met, and ever since then, I've gotten hooked up with a lot of great contacts. We tried to do a couple different things, and it's been fun. I'm even trying to get MLF over here at some point. I know they come kind of to California, but not that far. Not stopping in Arizona yet.
Keep cranking out 16-pound fish, and Everybody's coming.
That is my goal.
And I think that's the perfect place to start. I want to talk about this fish that was caught on August 2nd by Steve Jenkins at Roosevelt Lake, because it has a really cool story, I feel like, being one of the larger fish caught in the last 20 years in Arizona. So if you want to tell us a little bit about Roosevelt and Steve's catch, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so Roosevelt was on fire back in the 90s, and people were catching huge fish left and right. And we had an introduction of gizzard shad. And so they were detected in the lake in the 2007, and then the population of largemouth crashed. And it was years of trying to get that population back up. That's when we joined the Reservoir Fish Habitat Partnership and got a grant to put structures in. And we started stocking some Florida, because beforehand it was mainly a northern bass population. So we started throwing some Florida genetics in there, seeing if we can get bigger fish, more habitat projects. And our most recent survey are seeing catch rates similar to the 1990s, where we're getting like 100 fish per hour in our electrofishing surveys. So we're getting back up there, and we're really excited. Steve's catch was so cool just because I got to talk to him and talking about how it was jumping and what he was seeing, and how he's not usually he's not a huge angler because he works full time and doesn't always have the time. So the chance to get that big bass is just such a cool opportunity. And hopefully that lake's cranking out a lot more.
I can speak on behalf of the anglers.
You go ahead,
a lot of people from around the country are looking at Arizona now. Usually they might take the trip down to Texas to go try to catch some big ones. And now they're like, hey, let's go check out Arizona instead.
That's good. I mean, we're doing our habitat work at all of those lakes. So I talked about the Salt River Chain at the Bass Symposium. And Canyon has our state record for catch and keep. And that lake hasn't recovered as much. But Saguaro Lake, which is just downstream, and Apache Lake just upstream, we've done the same thing as Roosevelt. And in our electrofishing surveys, we're seeing those high catch rates. And usually, for those who don't know about shocking, you usually catch you don't catch the really little ones, you don't catch the really big ones. But we're catching 10-pound plus bass in our shocking surveys, which is not the norm. So they're in there.
I love it, Amber-Lee. You're already hooking this audience, pun intended. So Steve's fish is, I know, Bailey, you hate the dad jokes. Steve's fish is 16.57. It is a pure Florida. Did you guys get a genetic sample? So we don't know if it's pure Florida.
We don't know. So that's what I wish. It's hard. I wasn't in town that weekend, so we didn't get genetics or anything on it. So we don't know if it was pure Florida or a hybrid. But that's something we wish we knew.
But so for me, of course, I watch tournaments a lot, as my role at MLF, and I talk to people about tournaments, and I don't know this to be factual, but it may actually be the largest fish ever weighed in at a tournament across the entire United States.
Oh,
that would be crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah, there's nothing in the MLF record, and there's nothing in the BASS record. So it would have to be a very regional tournament, similar to this. From what I read, it's, like a 38 boat tournament. It was a smaller field, but I don't know of a bigger fish ever weighed in a tournament.
Wow, that's crazy.
Wasn't one of them, Steve? It was, I don't remember his name, on Sam Rayburn, like a 13 or something like that.
Yeah, our MLF record is a fish from Texas. It's 13.5 or something like that. This is 3 pounds bigger than the biggest one I've ever seen in a tournament.
Wow.
Yeah. So the fish, I want to keep on the fish for a minute, and then we're going to get to Roosevelt, because I want to talk about your work. But the fish itself, we don't know if it's a pure Florida. We can assume it might be. Basically when y'all started stocking the Florida genetic into Roosevelt. What year was that?
It was 2015.
2015, which would make that right at a 10-year-old fish, which is The average growth rate of a sherlunker, which is a pure Florida, stocked into Texas and grown to 13 pounds, the average age to 13 pounds is 10 years. So y'all's, a system could crank out a 16-pound fish in 10 years, but that could be an original stocked fish. And this could be the start of that process, not the culmination of what's about to happen at Roosevelt, which I can see on your face. For those of you listening, Amber-Lee is smiling very big right now.
Yeah. It's exciting. We've done a lot of work and tried really hard to get that fishery back. And to see it bounce back is a really cool feeling.
And you did mention that I think it was Canyon Lake. Yeah, pretty sure Canyon Lake, where the previous state record would have been. Is that right?
Yeah, that's our catch and keep record for largemouth.
And what is that record? That record's like 16
pounds, 7.68 ounces. So smaller, but it was
slightly smaller, but it was kept. So tell us how the records work in Arizona.
So if you want to do it by weight, you have to keep it. So you have to actually harvest the fish. And so usually people take it, they keep it on ice or in a cooler. So right there, it's losing weight, right? They immediately start losing weight once they die. And then they have to wait for an office to be open. And then they bring it into the office, they weigh it, and it goes through that process. If they want to do a catch and release, they have to get a length. So they have to have a measuring board out there and get however many inches it is. Take a picture and send that in, and then they can release it right there.
So let's just be clear with the audience. So Steve's fish is bigger than the current record for the state, but he needed a link to make it official.
It needed to be bigger than 28 inches. So he needed a picture of how many inches it was. And if it was bigger than 28 inches, it would have been the new record by at least 1 inch. So it had to be 29 inches.
Oh, so it may not have been that, because if it's a fast growing 10-year-old fish, it probably was like more like 25 inches.
Yeah.
So y'all don't have a catch and release by weight record.
No.
Amazing. Okay.
We used to have scales, and we do still have some scales that are certified at the lakes, but it was really hard to get our partners to keep them certified and to keep them accessible because they have to have someone there so that they can come get them. Most of them I've reached out to in the last few years trying to see. We had an angler group come to us wanting to get more scales. So they want the scales at the lakes. And we're on board. We just need to find a way to make it work. They were willing to do the certification, help keep them going. But all the places that we kept them, they lost the scales that we had given them. So now we need to buy new scales and we have to get a process set up, and we're just not there yet.
Gotcha. Would y'all, I mean, you don't have to answer this, but a lot of states will allow the anglers to post certify the scale. So if the tournament organization sent that scale into like IGFA for certification, then y'all would accept it as the record maybe?
If their scale was certified, but what we've been told by the people that certified our scales is that as soon as they move it, the certification's gone.
Changes.
So they would have to have someone out at the lake to certify it.
Oh, man.
I believe that's how they certified the new New York smallmouth record, Steve, was because he wanted to return that fish back to the river. Was they certified, or they waited on like a few different scales and then waited for the DEC to get there to certify the scale because the DEC wouldn't come out. They wanted him to kill the fish, and he was like, "I'm not doing that." So, that's an interesting process. That's tough on all
rock and hard place.
Yeah. Sure. Well, and if this is just the beginning of the new trophy era of Roosevelt Lake, well, we may need to solve for this issue.
Yeah, it's something that I'm definitely looking into to see if we can get a scale there and see if the marina is who used to house it. See if they're willing to do it. Last time I talked to them, they were. Now it's just coming up with funds to get the scale and get an annual certification.
Yeah, and it sounds like you may have like 3 reservoirs that may be competing for this.
Yes.
I love it. Well, you mentioned, the peak in the, mid to late 90s, 97 being the last state record that was certified. And now we're we're 27 years down the road and we might be hitting another big window. I think technology has changed to where you guys, I think y'all could figure out a way to make certified scales available.
Didn't catch the question.
Oh no, that's okay. Bailey,
Sorry.
edit that.
Dang technology.
Yeah. Sorry, Bailey, you got some editing. Okay. So you mentioned that in 1997 was kind of the peak whenever the last trophy, state record was certified. And I think that coming into your management methods, creating more of this opportunity and technology may allow us to have those certified scales available everywhere.
That's the hope. I mean, we want to continue with our habitat work, continue with our stocking, and then get the scales out there so we can actually showcase all the big fish we're catching at these lakes.
Good. Okay, so let's get into the dirt of the management. This show, on Serious Angler, we have these real biology segments where we do talk about the science. And I know that you're not going to be able to like take us play by play and say, this is what made that 16-pound fish, but our audience, that's what they want to hear. They want to hear, how did it happen? So let's talk about first the introduction of gizzard shad. In theory, like what did they do to the system that caused the decline?
So when they hit the system, what we saw is originally in 2007, there was only a handful. We couldn't even detect them. And by 2008, we were pulling out hundreds. So their population just boomed really fast. So they took up all the biomass, they took up all the space, and the largemouth bass population went down. They just couldn't compete. And it took multiple years until that kind of stabled out. We kept seeing increases and increases each year in gizzard shad. And now we're finally seeing more of a stable number. The population for gizzard shad seems to be more in check. And the bass are coming back up.
And I think of y'all's reservoirs very much like mine. I'm central to West Texas, and of course I manage a lot of private lakes, but they fluctuate in elevation, and gizzard shads do just seem to show up. Like, do y'all have an idea of how they got there?
So we're not sure. There's been a couple different theories, some guesses, potentially a stocking effort from Mora that accidentally had some gizzard shad. That's the only thing we can kind of think of. There's a lot of, there wasn't really any gizzard shad nearby. So having an angler do it, it's unlikely, but always possible. We have a lot of illegal introductions that we're really trying to minimize.
Do y'all have a bait rule in the state of Arizona? Like some states, you're allowed to catch, Texas, for example, you're allowed to cast net fish and use those as bait as long as it's on the same water body. Do y'all let people bring bait from other water bodies?
They can bring, no, not live. They can bring some from the shop, and there's limitations of where, and you can cast net at the lake and catch bait there.
Okay. And we have another problem. I'm really relating you guys to me, and I don't know why I'm doing this, but it is what I do. In a lot of our reservoirs on the private side, whenever the gizzard shad show up, they do exactly what you described. They have like this reproductive potential, like opportunity once a year, but they create thousands of juveniles quickly. And then eventually those juveniles, they're the food, but some of them escape and become these large individuals. And when they get large, they escape the food chain, and they do this weird thing where they continue to eat zooplankton. They compete really well against the native forage species, and they kind of cause what I call gizzard shad lock, where the entire system is just this big gizzard shad biomass. So it's a long way to ask you, is that what you're describing happened? Like you had this uptake in these small gizzard shad, but then they started escaping the food chain?
Yeah. Most of the gizzard shad we're catching were all like a foot long.
A foot long, yeah.
And so we have flathead catfish in there, and that population got really big.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
So that was the one benefit. But we do see, I mean, they're all huge. They're all in that size class that you're talking about that aren't really prey anymore.
Right. And then the last thing related to us is I also often get cormorants. We get double crested cormorants here, sometimes neotropic, but mainly double crested. And I always see whenever the gizzard shad are introduced and then they become these large size fish, the cormorants and most aquatic birds carry a lot of parasites. And cormorants carry a specific eye fluke that uses a snail host and then has an adult phase in the eye of the gizzard shad only. Do y'all see that there?
We have not seen that, but
Oh,
is that what
girl,
you have
I'm
to
going to
look for
text you a
now?
video of
Yes.
this. I'm going to text you a video because if you see it, it will freak you out.
I'm curious. We haven't seen it yet, and we have tons of them on the lake.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'd be curious.
Yeah, so these eye flukes, they get into the gizzard shad eye as adults, and then what they do is they migrate to the top of the eye and shade the cornea so that the gizzard shad thinks it is deeper than it actually is. So it makes it come to the surface, and then the cormorants can eat them easier.
That's
It's
crazy.
it is crazy, but I will send you a video. I'm sure I've got a social media post on it somewhere, but I will send you a video because you need to start looking for it. Because I didn't notice it until I started looking, and now I see them everywhere.
Yeah.
See, that should be a reason why we should be allowed to hunt these things, because I can't stand them up here. We have so many of them, and they won't let us do anything with them. And
Yeah.
you see a bunch of our lakes like Cayuga. All these bass are blind, and they're sitting on top of the surface. That's probably why.
Your call to action, I'll get the bill number in just a minute, but your call to action would be for all people to write your congressman, and because right now in Congress there's a bill to address cormorants on our public waters, and what it would allow us to do is increase the take and even allow the take on private waters. And if that passed, like Canada, for example, they allow the take of cormorants to improve fisheries. And mainly because of the environmental hazards, like you're talking about at Cayuga, just the destruction of shoreline habitat. We don't do that in the U.S. They're protected. And so this bill would allow us to do some of that take.
So that would be nice. I would thoroughly enjoy hunting some cormorants and getting rid of
Do y'all, Amber-Lee, do y'all have cormorants in Arizona?
Yeah, we have a lot of issues with them, especially at our community waters where we stock and then the fish are gone. So we're doing a couple of different projects like hazing. We have to show if hazing will work or not before we can start to get to the take.
Amazing. So on these community fishing lakes, what types of fish are y'all stocking in those?
Anything from trout, catfish, bluegill, bass.
Yeah, and they're all catchable size, which would be great food for cormorants.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's no fun. So you also mentioned, not just the gizzard shad showing up and causing the decline, but then the efforts that you guys at the Game and Fish have taken to kind of curve this around and make these reservoirs better again. Did you do any control of the gizzard shad, or you let that part just happen naturally?
We let that part happen naturally. We did a bunch of gill nets just to kind of see what the population was at, but everything we did, even in all those gill nets, the number we took out, we'd come back the next year and it was just the same. So we didn't really try to control the gizzard shad. We were waiting for it. All the papers said it would eventually stabilize. So we were waiting for that.
Okay. Yeah. I just looked it up. So if anybody's interested in the cormorant thing, there's the Cormorant Relief Act of 2025. It's sitting in Congress right now, and it's HR Bill 2293. If you're going to write your congressman, write in support of that bill, but read it first. Don't just say I listen to Real Biology and I'm going to support this. Read it.
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, that's exactly what Bailey's going to do.
I'm gonna ask them to rephrase it as the Cormorant Extinction Bill.
Yeah. So we can't do anything with the gizzard shad. We knew that they would stabilize over time. You have flatheads. Do y'all have either a striper or hybrid striper stocking program for Roosevelt? No.
No, we can't stock into that lake for stripers.
Okay, so it's mainly the flatheads that will take care of the larger gizzard shad. Of course, they're escaping predation, so the largemouth can't do it.
Right.
But you address the reservoir in two primary ways, is what I'm hearing. The first way is with habitat, and
Right.
let's talk about that. What were your goals? What were you using? How were you doing that?
So right around that time, we were getting slayed by the anglers, right? They're angry. They remember the 90s. They remember the fishing, and they
Right?
were pissed. Rightfully so. They wanted to catch a big bass.
Anglers don't get mad. I don't know what you're talking about. We don't
Yeah,
complain.
right. So we had a lot of roundtable meetings where we went out to our office. We went out to the community near the lake, and we started talking with them, telling them what's going on, seeing how we can help, and if they were willing to help us. That led us to Friends of Reservoirs, and we got a Friends of Reservoir group, Midweek Bass, decided to go win with us to get a grant. And that's actually the first habitat we put in at the lake was through the Friends of Reservoir grant. And our partners, Midweek Bass, we had the Tano community come out. We had Forest Service. It was really cool. We had tons of partners, and we did this huge habitat effort over the next 4 years. And that was the start of it.
What like when you say you did a huge habitat effort, like what materials were you all using, and what was kind of the plan?
We threw everything at it. So we wanted to do a little bit of everything. We went from reef balls, so the concrete structures. We did fish hiding structures, which were like tall trees. We did a bunch of mossback structures. And then we did Georgia cubes.
All right.
And so we threw all of that at it. And we were going to evaluate kind of which habitat, we kind of kept them separate, would be the best. And right after we put in all that habitat, the lake rose. And all that habitat became 60 feet under.
Yeah, that happens in the West.
It does. The rain came finally. And then the next big project we did, same partners, tons of community. We had a huge Christmas tree project. And we put 2,200 Christmas trees around the lake. It was like 2 weekends, multiple like Saturday, Sunday, all days. Like I can't say how much our volunteers and anglers, like that community came out and supported us. And they were out there hauling bricks and trees all day, which is amazing.
Yep. And so you saw like recruitment increase from largemouth or additional forage availability. What was the result of all the habitat work?
The big thing we saw was the gizzard shad population didn't increase, and we saw the largemouth bass population increase.
Gotcha. Yep. So that's what we call recruitment for anybody who's listening. You had a great episode on, Serious Angler with TJ Pullen last week during the Black Bass 2025 meeting. And in that, he discussed recruitment as well and the project that they're doing at Lake Fork, where they're going to, in Amber-Lee, this might be great for you, they're doing a Christmas tree collection. And instead of making brush piles, they're going to identify coves where largemouth are spawning and there's a lack of vegetation. And they're going to put individual trees in 2-foot depth and see if that increases recruitment in those local coves and areas and creeks. And TJ was talking about recruitment. So recruitment would be, you have fry, and every female fry has thousands of offspring. But those fry have to actually make it to an adult size to contribute to the population. And the number of individuals that make it from fry to an adult fish, somewhere between 10 to 12 inches, and become the actual next generation, that's the recruitment population. So what Amber-Lee's saying is that happened. They saw that after doing all this habitat effort. And I can only assume, I've never seen Roosevelt. I know I spent so much time in Phoenix, but we didn't fish. Unfortunately, we just did meetings. Describe to me what Roosevelt looks like from the shoreline.
It's pretty barren.
Pretty barren. Okay.
It's got desert landscape, a lot of brush, a lot of rocks, and a lot of dirt.
Okay. So it needed some habitat, because even when it was impounded, it wasn't like there was standing forest that were flooded. It was impounded with rock.
Yeah.
Okay. So y'all increased the habitat, and those efforts continue today. Do y'all do periodic projects?
Yeah, our goal is to hit the same lake every 3 to 5 years. So we're constantly putting an influx of habitat into the lakes.
And so that doesn't mean that you're, just so the audience is clear, that doesn't mean she's only working every 3 to 5 years. That means that she's hitting every reservoir on a 3 to 5 year rotation, but she's putting habitat in all of her district. How many reservoirs do you have that you oversee?
So we have 6 large reservoirs that we
Okay.
manage. One we can't manage. The 7th one is it has to be drawn down every year
Oh, okay.
based of a habitat conservation plan. So we
Mhm.
can't really do much with that lake. They're trying to get non-natives out of it.
Gotcha.
And then we have one small impoundment that we manage.
Very cool. Okay, so you do the habitat work, you become a Friends of Reservoirs member. I can't say enough great things about that organization. That's where I met you. But you also mentioned Roosevelt and you said Florida bass stocking. So walk us through the process of what that looks like on that specific reservoir.
Yeah, so right around that time, we had golden algae in the downstream reservoirs. So we were working with Texas a
Okay,
lot because they deal with golden algae all the time, and they were way
correct.
ahead of the game with how to deal with it. So we were going there, we were meeting with them, and they talked about their bass program and the Florida strain bass. So from then, we got our contacts with them, and they donated a lot of Florida strain bass to us, some
Oh, you
fingerlings.
got them from Texas?
Yeah,
Oh, so you got Sherlunker offspring.
we did. And so we
Okay.
put those in the lake. And then we had worked with some of our partners, got some tiger bass, some F1
Okay.
hybrids, and we started putting whatever we could get into the lake.
All right. So you have both pure Florida and you have the Florida largemouth cross F1 first generation cross. And do y'all continue those efforts today as well?
It's hit and miss. I think the last time we did it was 2019.
Okay.
So it's just whenever people have them available and we can get them.
And the stocking is done by Game and Fish, or is it done by angler groups?
Both. So we bring the
Both. Okay.
anglers out and they help disperse them around the lake. And honestly, it's the best partnership ever because they get them everywhere.
Right. Right. And they get to experience it.
Hmm. Yeah.
I love that story. Okay, so are there active angler groups that either are participating in habitat or participating in these stocking programs that are trying to raise like private funds and support it?
Yeah, we do. We have Bass Pro Gary Semft that
Uh-huh.
is working with his angler group. Fishing 48 is a tournament angler. Nick Kessler that's working to try to raise money. And right now, they're at least the Bass Pro Shop. Gary is working mainly for smallmouth
Okay.
because the smallmouth at Apache right downstream was basically taken out by the golden algae.
Yeah.
So right now they're kind of focusing on that, but it kind of goes back and forth. Wherever the biggest need is, the anglers kind of support that.
Yeah. And you did mention exotic species, so I'm gonna venture to guess we have some sort of invasive mussel that's impacting some of these systems.
Yeah, we have quagga mussel. They haven't taken a
Quagga.
big hold yet, and they've only been downstream at Apache downstream. We haven't seen them at Roosevelt yet.
Gotcha. And the quagga mussel, for those that are listening, very similar to the zebra mussel. Both the quagga and the zebras, they attach to some sort of surface. So our native mussels burrow; they don't attach. So they'll burrow in sediment. They'll live in sediment, but they can't attach to dock floats and trees and things like that. Where these non-native mussels, they do attach. And the quagga, Amberly, is it size-wise in identification? Like, what is it? How does it compare to a zebra mussel?
They're smaller.
They're smaller. Okay. So the quaggas are smaller, zebras are smaller. I'm sorry.
Quaggas are smaller.
Quaggas are smaller. And is that what mussel havasu has as well?
Yes.
Yeah. So I always think of havasu as two things. I think of it as abundance of habitat, unbelievable the things that the state has done at havasu with just the number of structures. I'm not even going to try to remember the number, but it's 20,000 plus structures in havasu. But also, I remember it for being the world record red ear fishery.
Yes.
Is that something that the state like sees and tries to replicate in other areas with stocking?
So for the red ear, we're pretty sure that they're mainly eating the quaggas, and
Correct.
that's why it's the world class.
Hmm.
We're very limited in where we can stock and when,
Okay.
just with our compliance. So we haven't tried to replicate it anywhere else.
Okay.
Most of the
But
other
like an Apache, it would be possible if you were allowed to stock them.
well, so we have red ear there. We have a lot of hybrids in all, even at Roosevelt, we see red ear. But they're so crossed over. There are too many hybrids. There's bluegill, red ear, and green sunfish, and we see a combo of all three throughout it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And the red ear do consume mainly crustaceans, so it makes sense that they would eat the quagga mussels, especially if they're smaller than the zebras. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
The other non-natives that I think of are common carp. Do you have a lot of common carp?
Yeah, we have a lot of common carp, buffalo fish in those
Yeah.
reservoirs.
So they take up a lot of biomass, kind of similar to the gizzard shad.
Yeah.
All right. So
We have a few
what?
others too.
Oh, we'll list them out. Let's hear it.
We've got New Zealand mud snails that are coming down in Tano Creek. Yep, you would never even. They're tiny little snails, like the end of a pencil.
Okay.
And
nothing. I mean, red ear should eat those, right?
they should. We haven't seen them yet in the lake, but they're making their way down Tano Creek.
Okay.
And then we have golden algae, but it doesn't kill as much in Roosevelt. We only usually see it in the Salt River that flows into Roosevelt, and then downstream of Roosevelt.
Yeah, golden algae is a tough one because it always strikes whenever you least expect it, but you should expect it. It's kind of strange, but golden algae is a type of plankton, and it prefers water that has a high pH. It prefers water that has a high salinity, and it becomes very toxic at cooler temperatures. So when your natural green algae are kind of limited, that's when golden algae likes to strike. And do y'all see the same pattern to where it's, no, yours is different? That's all right, Amber-Lee, tell us what yours does.
I know, when you said cool, I was like, oh, I wish. No, ours starts anywhere from when it's cool, so around like January, February.
Okay.
But usually, at least in the last like 10 years, it's really hitting around March, April, and it's going all the way through May and August.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so y'all have 6 months of terror.
Yes.
And golden algae can be one of those things like it impacts a very small portion of the reservoir or the whole thing, and it's hard to predict.
Yeah, exactly. And we often see all of our bass and all the fish, really, they kind of, when there's a big golden algae, it's kind of throughout the lake, they all kind of stack up in the backs of the coves and upriver towards the dams. Right. And so anybody fishing kind of hits those and they can just kind of pull them out pretty quick.
Yeah, makes it easy. And then, like you said, golden algae will impact certain species at maybe like at a harder rate. So like I think a smallmouth are very susceptible to golden algae.
Yeah. They're the first after shad, like gizzard shad and threadfin shad. Smallmouth are the next ones that we see go.
Yeah. And so then it is in Roosevelt. So this could be one of those windows where everything is lined up. You've got habitat, the Florida stocking, the shad are in the right portion, and golden algae could roll the dice and could cause it to decline quick.
It could. We've been lucky with Roosevelt. It usually we've only ever seen fish kills in Roosevelt in a couple coves. And usually it's tilapia during the cold water kill off.
Wait a minute, we have tilapia too?
Yeah, we have everything. We have tilapia in that lake as well.
Holy smokes.
Hey, you buried the lead there, Amber-Lee.
I thought everybody had tilapia everywhere.
Thankfully, we don't up here.
Why don't we go back and you tell us what lives in Roosevelt?
It might be easier to say what doesn't. To be honest.
I know. Pretty much most warm water. You've got channel and flathead catfish. You've got smallmouth and largemouth bass. You've got the bluegill, red ear, green sunfish, tilapia. We've got 3 types of buffalo fish, the big, black, and small. And then you have got carp and then both shad. And I'm sure I'm missing some, but that's like...
You do have threadfin and gizzard shad.
Yep.
Okay. And the
Eat
tilapia,
sharks and do we hit the
No sharks.
tail? No?
I think Arizonans would freak out if there were sharks.
they can't get their hands on them yet. Once they get some, they'll put them in there.
You're stocking them next year. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And no gar yet either. See,
Well,
another one
no
we always
gar,
get asked
okay.
about is gar.
Okay. So the tilapia, I assume they're blue tilapia.
They're the blue tilapia.
Yeah. Blue tilapia have a pretty good temperature tolerance. So I imagine that you have a population that's sustainable year to year and just have small mortality events.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they'll have a lower lethal, like when the water gets too cold, Bailey, you'll see tilapia die off. And blue tilapia, although they're called blue tilapia, are kind of anywhere from white to black in color. And males may be vibrant red at times when they're spawning, and they spawn like sunfish do in communities with deep cylindrical beds, but the females will carry the eggs in the fry in their mouths, so they have a higher success rate of reproduction. And they primarily eat algae, so they take a specific niche within the environment that nothing else really takes. So it's kind of interesting. A lot of our audience are like shaking their head going, I can't believe they have tilapia. You're making Arizona sound a lot like Florida right now.
It's really similar. We also have black crappie. I forgot that was a big one at that lake too.
Black crappie.
Got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, no.
I love it.
No wonder you're
I
getting
can't.
16 pounders. I mean, you got food left and right.
We do.
Yeah, I can't imagine a fishery that has tilapia and smallmouth bass. I don't think the smallmouth will eat them very often. And I imagine that you're just mentioning fish, but there's also a lot of crayfish variants.
Yeah.
Having that much rock. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Roosevelt sounds like the Wild West.
It is. You can see cactus too.
Yes, big cactus, unbelievably tall cactus. So, Amber-Lee, back to y'all's electrofishing. You mentioned that you're seeing these higher catch rates and even some trophy-sized fish showing up in the catch rate. So, is this 16-pounder an anomaly, or is this a trend in which anglers should put Arizona on their to-do list?
So what I think is it's a trend. This is the way it's going. We're catching bigger and bigger fish in our catch rates. The tournaments are now starting to catch them. I think it's only a matter of time that it's just going to keep getting better and better.
And so Roosevelt is on the list. Apache's on the list. What else is on the list?
Sorrow.
Okay, those are the three to come visit.
Yep, those are the three that are doing amazing in my region.
And then we don't care about the other regions.
No.
Come visit Amber-Lee's region and see her work. I love that idea. And so whenever you say like we're throwing every kind of habitat, you mean across all three, very similar?
Yeah. So the other three lakes, Sorrow, Canyon, and Apache, we're doing it at lower levels because they're smaller lakes. Okay. But we're ramping it up now that we're seeing success at Roosevelt. So we're going to do the lakes being Canyon Lakes, which is the one we've struggled with. It used to be, it's got the state record, right?
Right.
The dam has maintenance coming up. So SRP does it every so often. I think the last time it was 2007. And so when they lower the dam, we went in for another reservoir partnership grant. Right. And we're going to do a huge large scale project at Canyon Lake. And we're going to throw a lot of habitat at it when the lake's drawn down. We're going to do Christmas trees. We're going to do some of the new mossback where they reduce the plastics. I think you presented on it. We're going to do some of those as well.
Okay,
and
cool.
We're going to do like this huge project over like 3 months when it's drawn down.
I love that idea. Love it, love it, love it. And then are you still doing the Florida stocking in those reservoirs as well, or is that kind of on hold right now?
We haven't been able to get Florida. It all depends on when we can get them. So a lot of people are struggling to get those F1 hybrids right now or pure Florida. Mm-hmm. Everyone's kind of focusing on their water. So when we have funding and when there's some available, we're one of the first ones that jump on that offer. And we're doing smallmouth. That's one that we've kind of
You're stocking smallmouth.
we got an in at one of the other states and we worked with them and they've been amazing. They got us 55,000 smallmouth bass that we stocked into
That's great.
Apache.
Okay. So I'm going to nail you down on this one. If an angler group or a professional angler wanted to raise some funds to purchase Florida bass, are we talking that all of those Canyon, Apache, Swaro, Roosevelt, like all of them are open and available? If they bring the funds and they bring the fish, you're ready to go.
In a heartbeat.
You're willing to stock them. I love hearing that. Bailey, how much is our audience just going to love hearing that if anglers want to participate, Arizona's the place to be?
I think they're ecstatic. I think there's that.
Yeah.
And if you're not from Arizona, they're going to their other states and they're like, hey, well, they're willing to listen to them. So, hey, let's go. Like, come on.
Well, I need everybody. I need everybody to go visit Arizona. I need everybody to go fish these reservoirs and show some love for the hard work that's being done.
I'd love to see more
going,
60-pound a state record come out of that. I want to see the state record.
I'm bringing a certified scale, though. I'm not killing the fish. I'm going to get a certified scale. I'm going to get a link. I'm going to get a thin clip. I'm going to have everything, and I'm going to hand it to you, Amber-Lee, as a complete package.
Perfect.
We going next week, Steve? We going?
Yeah. We need to put on our schedule. What about trout? Are you do any of these reservoirs get trout stocking?
So we do. So Saguaro Canyon and Apache, we do
stock. Of course you do.
Of
course you do.
Not at Roosevelt. We do winter stockings of rainbow trout, but it's less. It's not always. We've done it every year, but we've took it off our stocking schedule because we can't commit to it. We kind of try to make other waters the priority, somewhere where we actually catch it. Our return to trout on those are pretty low. Our bass anglers love it.
I can't imagine 16-pounders. Their return to trout ratio is very high.
Yep, it's huge. They love it. So we do stock them. They're usually on the smaller side, and pretty much throughout the year, maybe from anywhere as early as October through May, when we have extras.
Well, I love it. So I want to summarize to our audience, make sure I'm getting this correct. The 90s, mid-90s, early 90s, we saw an increase in these bigger trophy-sized fish in Arizona, specifically Roosevelt, Canyon, but then they declined as gizzard shad were introduced. In your state responded by improving habitat, both with artificial and with Christmas trees. You started stocking Florida genetic, and just through time, 10 years later, you're seeing the results of that in Roosevelt, and now these other reservoirs are really picking up as well. And you're seeing it in your creel data and your sampling data, and your anglers are seeing it in their tournament data.
Yeah,
and you're just going to keep replicating that.
Keep doing it. Our anglers are
that
saying...
That sounds like a winning formula.
Yeah. When people tell you it's the best fishing they've had in decades, I mean, you want to keep doing what you're doing.
Amber-Lee, I can't tell you another biologist that have said my anglers are saying that they have their best fishing in decades right now. Like, that's a rare conversation. You should be very proud of your work.
I'm excited, and they're excited. It's funny because they keep quiet about it, because we even stocked... I'm going to throw one more fish species out. We even stocked walleye in a few of these reservoirs.
Of course,
Saguaro Canyon and Apache, we stock walleye. And the anglers are catching them. And on Facebook, you see them all going, shh, to whoever mentions it. They're like, no, just stop talking about it. We don't talk about this.
Yeah, that's when you know you're doing well, is when the anglers are trying to keep your fishery under wraps. That's how you know you've made a quality fishery. Yeah. It's not when they want to talk about it. It's when they don't want to talk.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, I'm going to transition us because I want to be thoughtful of Amber-Lee's time. We see that you're doing phenomenal work, but you also attended the Black Bass 2025 meeting that Bailey and I were at. So our audience has been getting a big, healthy dose of what did you think of the meeting? And I'm going to ask you, how was Black Bass 2025 for you?
I love the meeting. I hated that I had to pick which room I sat in, and I missed so many great talks. That's my one sad part, that I wish I could have seen some of these amazing talks. But it's great to see what other states are doing and get ideas like, okay, how can I help my stunted population here? Because we have that issue at one of our larger reservoirs. And it gave me so many ideas on how I can better manage it in the future. And then the nexus and the future proofing talk, I think, was so great. Hearing the different perspectives just helped me a ton. Just had a bunch of ideas going on how I can better communicate, how I can better manage. Yeah, it was a great conference.
Well, and from all of us who attended, we owe you a thank you because you were part of the planning committee, and that was a small group that put in a lot of effort. So we want to thank you so much, Amber-Lee, not just for showing the world how great Roosevelt could be, but also for showing the rest of the scientists that we can put on an outstanding meeting where we share a lot of ideas. I loved at the beginning when Dave Phillips said, just take everything that you think is fact and that you know, and be open to another way of thinking about it. And I think that the entire meeting really showcased that.
Yeah, I agree. And I did very little. You put in so much work into that conference that I want to thank you.
No, you don't have to do that. But you can go ahead.
You did it so good. You put so much effort. You got the media there. And that's one thing, that media impromptu, I don't know if you had it planned or not, but when we talked to the media and had everybody in front of us, I have so many notes from that one 30-minute session because it was great information.
Yeah, Bailey, we thought of that, 2 days before the meeting. We were at the meeting and we were like, hey, what if Bailey got up and Ken Duke got up for 30 minutes and talked about what makes a good guest?
I don't know where this we came into it. That was you. But I like that you included me in it. But yeah, no, that was really good. I think the more we talk about the bridge, that's what's important right now.
And then Amber-Lee, put you on the spot. What was your favorite talk of the whole meeting?
Okay, I'm not sucking up, but it was your talk when you talked about communicating with the anglers in part of that plenary session.
Yes.
Because you talked about communication, and it really made me think about how I do things and how I communicate. So I like when talks kind of challenge the way I do things and make me think of how I can be better. And it really challenged, am I writing things to the anglers? Am I actually talking to the anglers when I'm doing these reports and I'm trying to showcase our fisheries? And I have some ideas on how to change things and make them better. And I love things that do that.
Thank you. That was sweet. So the title of that talk was called How Do People Experience Your Work? And it's challenging biologists to, Amber-Lee and I had a discussion at the beginning of this where we were talking about electrofishing and what was your catch per effort. And she's like, I catch 100 fish per hour. And we her and I understood that was a good thing. We were moving the right direction on that fishery. But anglers experience it by the fish they're actually catching. And now the world has experienced Amber-Lee's work through Steve and the fish that he just caught. And now the spotlight is on you. And I'm totally confident that this is just the start. There's going to be a lot more interviews with you, Amber-Lee, talking about how great these 4 fisheries are.
I can't wait. We're going to get a state record. We're going to keep going.
I love it. I love it. You caught a state record. We just have to figure out how to qualify a state record more efficiently.
Exactly.
Love it.
Bailey, what do you got for Amber-Lee?
I think this is great. I think one, obviously, hearing about how the fishery is doing, but also 2, with the steps that you guys have taken to create the caliber of fish you have, and then now just hearing your desire to communicate more of what you guys are doing with the anglers beyond just going on shows and stuff like this is, I think you guys are doing all the right things. I think every angler in Arizona should be ecstatic right now, and from the folks that I'm friends with, it sounds like they are very happy with how the fishing is out in Arizona. But nah, it's been a pleasure, and it's been a breath of fresh air hearing that coming from more. Hopefully more states are getting on board with that. So.
Thanks.
Awesome. I appreciate that. I do want to tell you, Amber-Lee, I've made 2 phone calls to MLF. The first phone call I made was after Friends of Reservoirs last November. and I said, I think we should do a team series on this reservoir called Roosevelt. And it's based on the conversation I had with you. And then I made a second phone call last week and I said, I told you so.
Those are the best.
Yeah, because it would have been the best location. I keep telling everybody there's no difference in ending your season in Florida versus ending your season in Arizona. No difference.
It's a big reservoir, has big fish. It's a cool community that really comes out in sports.
Yeah, and I know I talked to you and Julie about this. You know, the one thing we got to work on, and it's not a fisheries issue. It is a cell phone coverage issue.
It's getting better in Arizona. It depends who your carrier is.
Yep. Well, once we get that part, I think you're going to see several leagues heading that way.
It's good to hear. I look forward to it.
Yep. All right, Bailey. Amber-Lee, do you have anything left that we didn't cover that we should have?
No, I think we covered everything.
I know.
Are you sure you're not forgetting any other species that are in
I very well could be forgetting a few, especially the bait ones. The little ones elude me sometimes.
That's fair. Well, I do have one more for you. I know we're kind of pressing on time, but tell me about your community fishing projects, because we just talked about reservoirs and how great you're making bass fishing, but that's not the only thing you do. So let's talk about the small bodies of water and what you do to really get the Phoenix community engaged in fishing, or get these kind of more urban areas engaged.
So we have a community fishing program that has expanded its waters. I think there's over 100 waters throughout Arizona that are community fishing waters. And we stock them regularly with rainbow trout and flathead catfish. And then we occasionally stock with bass and bluegill, sometimes once a year, once every other year. And
you said flathead, but I feel like you meant channel cat.
I did mean channel cat. Sorry, I do mainly flathead.
Helping you out, girl.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Channel cats. And we have our community program has its own leadership, own person in charge, and they have a bunch of people under them that go out and stock continually. Trying to think of what am I missing? Oh, the last thing that we've done to try to help, we have the cormorant issues, right? So we have a lot of those fish being taken. And a lot of these community ponds had no habitat in them. They're basically just dug out ponds, right? So it's a liner and nothing else. So with the help of some youth groups and some of the anglers, we did like 15 different community water habitat projects over the last year and a half. And through habitat in those waters to try to help those fisheries, which is really cool. And right now everyone's like, we don't need any more. You just did it all. So we're kind of waiting till those kind of degrade a little, and then we'll put more in.
I love it. No, you guys are very holistic in your approach, providing opportunity to meet the anglers where they want to be anglers. That's such a big thing. And I know that y'all have kayak tournaments in the state of Arizona. It seems like you're getting more regional tournaments that are coming through. It's just a matter of time before it all comes together and you get a big national event and really put you guys on the map.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I went to the community waters this past weekend. I actually took my 3 kids fishing, and we were pulling bluegill up left and right on hot dogs. And it was like the best experience for them. They didn't care the size. They just wanted to pull one in.
Of course. That's how you hook them. That's how you get people to become anglers, is catch a lot of fish. And then eventually, after you catch a lot of fish, you want to catch a big fish.
Exactly. And it was fun.
Yep. Yeah, this has been great, Amber-Lee. I want to thank you for your leadership in Arizona, everything you guys are doing, for coming onto the show, for your friendship. Since we met each other last year, you've reached out several times. We've got to have some discussions about this nasty golden algae issue and what could possibly be done. It seems like that's a big risk of y'all's fisheries, and the only kind of hurdle that you have left to overcome. But you guys are showcasing what fisheries management could be across the country, and we just applaud your efforts.
Thanks. We appreciate that.
Yeah. In our audience, if you need or want to talk to Amber-Lee, how do people get a hold of you?
You can call me at 480-324-3545. That's my work
phone. Cut that. We're going to do it again. Don't give people your phone number. You're crazy. This is the entire internet.
The anglers know my. Okay. Email? You want to push email?
Or a website.
I'll give you my number to anglers.
Oh,
Do
my
you
word.
realize? You don't realize the scum that listen to this podcast.
I do. Okay. I can. Let's cut that.
Yeah, one
Let's
right
redo
here.
that, Bailey. Yeah, let's redo that. Okay, Amber-Lee. For our audience, anybody who wants to get a hold of you, what is the best way to do so?
You can reach me at email, akjones@azgfd.gov.
Perfect. And I guess y'all have like Facebook pages and a website and all those other things if they want to see your work.
Fish AZ is a good one. We
Fish
showcase
AZ.
it, and the anglers are kind of the ones that run that. We put stuff on that too, but they put all their catches and ask questions. It's a good community.
I love that. And I love the word community. So thank you so much, Amber-Lee. We, whenever we hit a 17-pound fish, we're going to have you back on. So that could be next week.
Sounds good. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, folks. That is going to do it for today's show. A great conversation with Amber-Lee. And Steve, I don't know if I thought there was a lot of different species in, like the Tennessee River lakes, things like that. But it sounds like Arizona might be taking the cake right now.
No, I mean, Amber-Lee makes it sound exotic. And there are parts of it that are very exotic. As you heard me say, I'm surprised. I'm surprised by the fact that there's smallmouth and tilapia in the same water body. Tennessee River and parts of Alabama, parts of Georgia. I mean, Georgia's the fisheries diversity capital of the world, for freshwater fisheries. Yeah. It is the place where it's happening, at least in North America. But what they're doing in Arizona reminds me so much of Texas in the 80s. I often tell students, whenever I talk to student groups here in Texas, that, when reservoirs were first being built in the 60s and 70s, that initial group of managers, that was like the Wild West, where it was spin a wheel and let's try it. Let's try and see what we can make out of this. And they had all the opportunity in the world. And in Texas, they did things like peacock bass stocking. They did redfish in freshwater. They were going at it and just saying what would work. And then they, over time, we refine it down to a process of this is what actually works. And in Texas, that process looks like before you build a reservoir, you rope known out all private ponds and lakes in the watershed. You stock the Sherlunker offspring and forage in those private lakes. Then when the lake is impounded, you have a base for that population, and it's 2 years older than it should be. And then they spread throughout the reservoir, and that means you can fish these reservoirs quickly. But we don't build a lot of new reservoirs, so the management aspect of habitat, the management aspect of kind of trying to, when you can, control invasive species, and then stocking superior genetic into reservoirs. That's really the Texas refined process. And it sounds like Arizona is doing a lot of that and still getting to tinker and play. And that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, and in regards to how each species affects one another, then kind of full circle how it all comes back to creating bigger bass. I think that's a crazy equation to try to figure out and understand, and that's something I think they're definitely understanding pretty well so far in Arizona. And obviously you guys have got it figured out down there, but it was cool to hear her go through all that and their thinking between them and the description of Arizona. And man, I just can't wait to go down and fish there.
Yeah, you need to get on. You need to, if somebody's traveling to Arizona right now, Amber-Lee mentions 4 reservoirs where you can try to go get, a trophy largemouth, a trophy Florida bass. Let's call it 10 pounds plus, with opportunities at 16, 17-pound fish. If golden algae doesn't deter their growth, those fish are 10 years old. The original stocked fish are 10 years old. There's nothing to say they're not going to grow to 12, maybe 14 years old. So that fish is going to top out in the 18 to maybe 20 pounds. Some of these bodies of water where they're hitting rainbow trout during that right window, we could see a 20-pound fish come out of Arizona. That is not unrealistic. But it is fairly realistic that the next state record could be 17 to 18 pounds caught in the next 2 years. you also have the opportunity to catch smallmouth, and Amber-Lee mentions like some walleye and some different odd species. Like that would just be a cool thing to happen while you're in the state of Arizona. But I think you can't overshadow the fact that if you're going to travel to Arizona, you hit those reservoirs, you try to catch trophy largemouth, make a trip to Havasu as well. Go look at what Havasu has done. I know that there's windows where it's a big party lake and it's hard to navigate, but the amount of fish structure that they put in and the way that they've utilized the quagga mussel and the red ear sunfish to create this trophy sunfish fishery is pretty impressive. And if you're going to travel to Arizona, like those are a couple of destinations for people who want to try out forward-facing sonar, who want to try to catch a big fish, who want to be in clear water. Like there's so much opportunity. Arizona is a great place to learn it and do it.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better, Steve.
Love it. Okay. Do we have a lake hotline, or we lake hotline less for one more week? We do have a lake hotline. Okay. I don't know about it, so let's hear it.
And I also selfishly have a question for you, obviously coming out of Black Bass Symposium, and I've heard you ask just about everybody else this question from last week too, obviously on this episode. And that is, what was your favorite discussion or presentation from Black Bass Symposium last week?
That's great. I'm going to tee it up by saying what I enjoy about meetings like this now, as basically a 20-year veteran of the industry, I like hearing the talks by people that I collaborate and work with, or I'm helping. I like watching them succeed. My favorite talks, selfishly, were people like who you're going to meet, next episode, Ryan Gary from Maryland, and how Ryan assesses Major League Fishing's data to look at forward-facing sonar's usage and ability to predict fish catches. That's going to be a great episode. He gave a phenomenal presentation. Former guest like Cynthia Fox Holt, Dr. Cynthia Fox Holt, in her discussion of just what she did on this podcast, blotchy bass and the work with the community. Those talks are the ones that intrigue me the most because I know the background and I get to watch the person succeed. But my favorite talk it was one by Josh Sackmar. And Josh discussed the process that he did on this on our show, which was how we collected the fin clip from the skin mount of Manabu Kurita's 22-pound fish from the Yamaha facility. And he verified that to be a pure Florida. Well, in his talk, Florida took it a step further. And they looked at the genetic profile of that fish and found out that through its genetic lineage, the family of fish that produced that fish are from the St. Johns River, which takes us back to the conversation we had with Joe Baylog about saving the St. Johns River. And the reason Josh's talk was my favorite, he didn't make this connection, but I did. I made a connection of that family lineage came out of the St. John's in the 80s. And that tells a story of how we have taken fish, put them in our hatchery system. He was able to map kind of the genetic code. And those same fish from the St. Johns River, some of their offspring came to Texas. And in 2006, whenever I started in this industry, I was buying fish from a fish hatchery in Florida. Those were the St. John River fish. The same fish that were being shipped to Japan at the same time that produced the world record. And so what it does is it takes a fish like that and the opportunity that we had to go collect that DNA sample, and me sitting in the back of the room, the actual story I'm getting is, look, this world is so small. This fisheries world is so small that all the things that we're doing today are touching the things that we did 20 years ago. And it's all been intertwined in my career. And that just, it's more of being nostalgic in those moments. But my favorite part of the meeting is just, I get to connect all those dots even if it's in my head and I'm the only one that knows the story.
That's freaking cool. That's a nugget in itself right there, Steve.
Yep.
That's when you, this is why it's so important to track all this stuff, right? In regards to timelining and things like that. And that's awesome. The lake hotline that we have for you is actually one that's kind of deep, and there is no right answer. It's more of he wants your opinion. This is Mark over on Instagram. We had a lot of great feedback from folks saying they wish that there was more, media around this, the Black Bass Symposium, wishing they could be in on the conversations, wish they knew more about it, wish it was happening more often. So great feedback. But his question was, when we were trying to share some of the different topics and things that we are sitting in on, and obviously we made some posts and we'll continue to make more posts that stem from last week's event, was in your mind right now, in specifically the world of bass fishing, what should be the number one priority that we should be discussing? Is it and he kept it at that. And so I'm assuming it's based on, some of the different issues we talked about last week was like the reservoirs aging, whether it's forward-facing sonar, whether it's water quality, vegetation. What do you think is the most pressing topic that we need to be discussing right now on Monday, August 18th, 2025, about the world of bass fishing?
Yeah, and it's going to depend on the lens you use. I'm going to say holistically as a function of the sport. What we need to be focused on is anglers age 4 to 12. Anglers 4 through 12 are the people that if we invest our time and effort into right now, in 20 years, they're going to be the reason that the sport is still here. We often look at anglers 14 through 18 and say, there's more high school bass fishermen than ever before competing in tournaments. And that is true. There are more high school bass fishermen competing in tournaments. But those are anglers that would have been fishermen anyways. If they weren't competing in tournaments, it's because tournaments weren't available to them. You can look at people like my generation that didn't have high school or college fishing. We didn't compete in tournaments, but we fished because we were introduced to fishing at age 4 through 12. And you think high school bass fishermen, because there's more of them competing in tournaments, that means that the sport is growing. That doesn't. The sport is getting smaller. We have less anglers every year. And as those high school bass fishermen go to college bass fishing, they're going to realize really quickly that only about 300 professional angler spots are available nationally. And that's a very small group. In the weekend tournament, participation rates are declining. And there may be a world where by introducing kids to high school bass fishing tournaments and college bass fishing tournaments, we're just burning them out on competing earlier. They were going to be anglers no matter what. And we may actually be causing them to exit the sport earlier. Because you think about, as you progress through life, it's damn hard from 25 till 45 to find time to go fishing, much less compete, as you are balancing career and kids and a home and all those things. And it's only going to get harder. And if you were in competition at the high school and college level and found out that you maybe can't compete at a high enough level to become a pro, what then motivates you to continue to compete in your 20s, 30s, and 40s? So as a big, broad topic, the thing we need to be focusing as a fish community is 4 to 12-year-old kids. We have to grow that. And if we don't grow that, we don't have fisheries management in 20 years because we can't afford it. Fisheries management is funded by license sales and by excise tax from fishing gear. I think you could get slightly more dialed in on regional or specific issues. If I was going to say, well, what's wrong with all of our fisheries in the country? It's a lack of participation in harvest, which is partially a poor regulation design, and partially poor communication, and then partially a change in angler ethic. And that's a hard one to address, but it can be addressed. I think that you could say, like on our science and data side, one of the biggest issues is genetics, in the fact that as genetics becomes more specific, then we have to be more thoughtful in how we apply genetics to management. And that goes towards stocking and record keeping and so many things. So, as a general rule, we need to focus on young anglers. And then we need to probably learn how to communicate better.
From a point of
across all boards,
to anglers to
all of it. I mean, you saw this. You were involved in the roundtable discussion at the Bass Summit, and your topic was forward-facing sonar, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
We haven't discussed it yet, and you don't have to really discuss what y'all talked about. But I will ask you this: have you ever had a better conversation about forward-facing sonar? It's because we have built an ethic in the scientific community that even if I think you are absolutely nuts, we are sitting here at this table and we need to have a cordial discussion, and we need to listen to your opinion, and then as a group make a decision.
Yeah, that was the most civilized conversation on forward facing that I've ever had.
Right. And that's why I'm saying we got to work on communication, because we don't do that as scientists when it comes to anglers, and we should. Anglers don't do that amongst themselves, and they don't do it when they communicate among scientists. And what we need is to be able to communicate these ideas, debate and discuss, and come up with a unified voice so that we can work on things like getting more young people fishing, and we can work on how do we streamline regulation and make it more adapted to current technology, as well as how do we make it more adapted to what our fisheries actually need.
Yeah. Love that. And hopefully we will continue to keep using this show, this platform, as a means to bring out those conversations. And
we're going to
bring that along. Yeah.
We are going to. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great question. I love the theoretic question. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yep. And I can't wait for next episode so we can get another one.
Thank you. Well, appreciate you, Steve. And appreciate Amber-Lee again for taking the time out to join us. And hopefully the folks appreciate this one. A lot of great nuggets in this. And Steve, anything else for the folks before we sign out?
Nope. See you next week, or 2 weeks, actually. See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, see you in 2 weeks. Appreciate y'all. See you on the next one.